दुनिया के दूसरे सबसे अधिक आबादी वाले देश भारत में प्रति 10 लाख की आबादी पर कोविड संक्रमण के 727.4 मामले हैं। देश में प्रति 10 लाख की आबादी पर 18.6 मौतों के साथ मृत्यु दर भी दुनिया में सबसे कम मृत्यु दर में से एक है। आईसीयू में 1.94% से कम मरीज, वेंटिलेटर पर 0.35% मरीज और ऑक्सीजन बेड पर 2.81% मरीज रखे गए हैं। अस्पतालों में भर्ती मरीजों को गुणवत्तापूर्ण उपचार सुनिश्चित करने के लिए देश भर में चिकित्सा के बुनियादी ढांचे को लगातार मजबूत किया जा रहा है। आज देश में 1383 समर्पित कोविड अस्पताल, 3107 समर्पित कोविड स्वास्थ्य देखभाल केंद्र और 10,382 कोविड देखभाल केंद्र हैं। उधर राज्यों की बात करें तो लगातार केंद्र के सहयोग से तमाम निर्देश कड़ाई से लागू करने के साथ साथ स्वास्थ्य के ढांचे के साथ टेस्टिंग को भी लगातार बढ़ाया जा रहा है। अरुणाचल प्रदेश में टेस्टिंग को तेज करने के लिए 10 रैपिड रिस्पांस टीम बनाई गई है। राजधानी ईटानगर में लॉकडाउन 20 जुलाई की सुबह तक जारी है। वहीं ओडिशा सरकार ने राज्य के कुछ हिस्सों में 14 दिनों के पूर्ण लॉकडाउन की घोषणा की है। संक्रमण से सबसे ज्यादा प्रभावित खोर्धा, कटक, जाजपुर जिलों में राउरकेला नगर निगम क्षेत्र में 31 जुलाई की मध्य रात्रि तक पूर्ण लॉकडाउन लागू रहेगा। इस दौरान सभी दुकानें, दफ्तर और संस्थान बंद रहेंगे और लोगों के आने जाने पर प्रतिबंध रहेगा। लॉकडाउन के दौरान दवा, सब्जी, किराने का सामान और दूध बेचने वाली दुकानें सुबह 6 से 1 बजे के बीच खुली रहेंगी। गोवा में 3 दिन का पूर्ण लॉकडाउन लागू हो गया है। इस दौरान आवश्यक सेवाओं को छोड़कर तकरीबन सभी प्रतिष्ठान बंद रहेंगे। गोवा में 10 अगस्त तक रात 8 बजे से सुबह 6 बजे तक जनता कर्फ्यू भी जारी है। उत्तराखंड में कोरोना वायरस संक्रमण के बढ़ रहे मामलों को देखते हुए प्रदेश में सप्ताहांत में शनिवार और रविवार को पूर्ण लॉकडाउन का ऐलान किया गया है। उधर कर्नाटक में 21 जुलाई को खत्म हो रहे लॉकडाउन को आगे नहीं बढ़ाया जाएगा। मुख्यमंत्री बीएस येदियुरप्पा ने चिकित्सा सुविधाओं का जायजा लिया और वरिष्ठ मंत्रियों और अधिकारियों के साथ एक बैठक भी की, जिसमें स्वास्थ्य सुविधाओं की समीक्षा की गई।
There is no further extension of lockdown. Already we take an opinion from the expert who is handling the COVID. So their opinion is 1 week, and we will put every college we will put the nodal officer from the government of Karnataka. They will go and check how many beds, how many patients is there, how many COVID, how many non-COVID, everything will every day monitor.
इस बीच कोविड-19 के इलाज में प्लाज्मा थेरेपी के महत्व को देखते हुए असम के स्वास्थ्य विभाग ने स्थानीय और राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर प्लाज्मा डोनेशन के लिए प्रोत्साहन देने का फैसला किया है। असम देश में प्लाज्मा बैंक स्थापित करने वाले राज्यों में अग्रणी रहा है और वो सबसे ज्यादा प्लाज्मा संग्रहण की योजना बना रहा है। इसके लिए स्वास्थ्य विभाग ने प्लाज्मा डोनर्स के लिए कुछ प्रोत्साहन की भी घोषणा की है। ब्यूरो रिपोर्ट्स के साथ न्यूज नाइट डेस्क, डीजी न्यूज।
आवास एवं शहरी कार्य मंत्रालय ने पीएम स्ट्रीट वेंडर आत्मनिर्भर निधि यानी पीएम स्वनिधि मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन जारी किया है। इसके जरिए स्ट्रीट वेंडरों के लिए माइक्रो क्रेडिट सुविधा उनके घर तक पहुंचाई जाएगी। ये ऐप डिजिटल प्रौद्योगिकी के उपयोग को बढ़ावा देने की दिशा में एक महत्वपूर्ण कदम है।
Earlier we had only this portal. We only had the web portal for administering the complete PM Swanidhi. Now we have this mobile application, and that is going to make things much more simpler. Just with a mobile phone, a smartphone, anybody can be admitted for the PM Swanidhi scheme.
सरकार ने आत्मनिर्भर भारत ऐप इनोवेशन चैलेंज के तहत प्रविष्टियां देने की समय सीमा बढ़ाकर 26 जुलाई कर दी है। देश भर में स्टार्टअप और तकनीकी उद्यमियों की तरफ से इसमें बढ़ चढ़कर रुचि दिखाए जाने के बाद समय सीमा बढ़ाई गई है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने विदेशी ऐप पर निर्भरता कम करने के लिए 4 जुलाई को इस प्रतियोगिता की शुरुआत की थी। अब तक इसके तहत भारतीय इकाइयों से विभिन्न श्रेणियों में 2353 प्रविष्टियां आ चुकी हैं। आइए अब देखते हैं देश से जुड़ी कुछ और बड़ी खबरें।
जम्मू कश्मीर के कुलगाम इलाके में आतंकियों और सुरक्षा बलों के बीच मुठभेड़ में सुरक्षा बलों ने 3 आतंकियों को मार गिराया है। आईजी कश्मीर विजय कुमार ने कहा कि कुलगाम में मारे गए 3 आतंकवादियों में अभी 2 की पहचान नहीं हुई है। मार गिराए गए जैश ए मोहम्मद का कमांडर वलिद आईईडी एक्सपर्ट था और पिछले 1.5 साल से सक्रिय था। उत्तर प्रदेश पुलिस ने विकास दुबे और उसके साथियों की मौत के मामले में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने अपना विस्तृत जवाब दाखिल किया। अपने जवाब में पुलिस ने कहा कि मुठभेड़ सही थी और उसे फर्जी नहीं कहा जा सकता। पालघर लिंचिंग मामले में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने नई याचिका पर सुनवाई से इनकार कर दिया है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि वह पहले की एक याचिका पर संज्ञान ले चुका है। ऐसे में एक के बाद एक याचिकाओं को बढ़ाकर सुनवाई करने का कोई सवाल नहीं उठता। नीति आयोग के सीईओ अमिताभ कांत ने वाराणसी के सेवापुरी का दौरा किया। उन्होंने कई विभाग के अधिकारियों के साथ बैठक की और सेवापुरी को मॉडल ब्लॉक बनाने पर चर्चा की। पश्चिम बंगाल के बीरभूम में राज्यपाल जगदीप धनखड़ ने भारत चीन के बीच हुई झड़प में जान गंवाने वाले जवान राजेश ओरंग के परिवार से मुलाकात की। भोपाल में विधानसभा में सर्वदलीय बैठक होने के बाद 20 जुलाई से शुरू होने वाला मध्य प्रदेश विधानसभा का मानसून सत्र रद्द कर दिया गया है। केरल में विपक्ष के नेता रमेश चेन्नीथला ने मुख्यमंत्री पिनराई विजयन को नैतिक जिम्मेदारी के आधार पर इस्तीफा देने की मांग की है। उन्होंने कहा कि ये चौंकाने वाला है कि मुख्यमंत्री पिनराई विजयन के प्रमुख सचिव सोने की तस्करी में शामिल थे, जो ये राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा के लिए खतरा है। इस बीच गोल्ड स्मगलिंग केस के मुख्य आरोपी शरद पीएस को 7 दिनों की एनआईए की कस्टडी में भेजा गया।
और अब कुछ अंतर्राष्ट्रीय खबरें। ऑस्ट्रेलिया के पूर्वी तट पर स्थित कई घरों पर गंभीर तटीय कटाव के कारण ढहने का खतरा बना हुआ है। इसके चलते सिडनी के उत्तर में 1 घंटे 30 मिनट की दूरी पर स्थित वेम्ब्रेल में रहने वाले कुछ लोगों ने आपातकालीन कर्मियों द्वारा चेतावनी दिए जाने के बाद अपने घर खाली कर दिए हैं। इंडोनेशिया के सुलावेसी द्वीप में आई बाढ़ से आसपास की नदियां उफान पर हैं, जिसके कारण क्षेत्र के कई हिस्सों में कीचड़ फैल गया है। उत्तरी लुवु जिले में ली गई ड्रोन फुटेज से बाढ़ में डूबे गांव नजर आ रहे हैं। कोरोना वायरस के कारण लगी पाबंदियों के बीच सिंगापुर के चिड़ियाघर ने दुर्लभ लाल रफेद लीमर के एक जोड़े के आगमन का स्वागत किया है। 22 फरवरी को पैदा होने वाले इन जुड़वा बच्चों का अभी तक नाम नहीं रखा गया। 11 साल बाद ये पहला मौका है जब चिड़ियाघर में इस दुर्लभ प्रजाति के लीमर का जन्म हुआ है। और इसी के साथ इस बुलेटिन में फिलहाल इतना ही। नमस्कार।
Namaskar and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Mark Lynn. Let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivers the keynote address virtually at the high-level segment of the United Nations Economic and Social Council and assures that India's deep commitment to maintaining global harmony and preserving nature's balance continues and asserts that India will play its role in full support of UN's agenda as a member of UNSC. Defence Minister reaches Srinagar after reviewing the preparedness of armed forces at Pangong So in Ladakh. Assures that not 1 inch of our land can be taken by any power in the world. Praises troops for not only protecting borders but also being the pride of 130 crore Indians. External Affairs Minister gives a strong rebuttal to Rahul Gandhi on his allegations, says that India's major partnerships are stronger and international standings are higher, with regular summits and meetings with the US, Russia, Europe and Japan. Asserts that India engages China on more equal terms politically and address the border infrastructure imbalance legacy. Pakistan continues with its nefarious plans to support and promote terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. 3 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists, including a Pakistani national, killed in an encounter with security forces in Kulgam. Rajasthan High Court gives interim relief to the rebel Congress MLAs from action against disqualification notice by the Assembly Speaker. The division bench directs the Speaker not to take any action against the rebel MLAs till the 21st of July. Government launches mobile app of PM Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi to bring microcredit facility for street vendors at their doorsteps, the app to improve the scheme implementation and promote paperless digital facilities. Flood and landslide situation remains grim in Assam, claiming over 97 lives. Heavy rains continue to lash Mumbai and coastal Maharashtra. Several low-lying areas waterlogged due to incessant rain. And COVID recovery rate rises to over 63% with over 6.35 lakh recoveries. Active cases stand at 3.4 lakhs and over 25,000 fatalities. Several states, including Goa and parts of Odisha, impose lockdown to curb the spread of the virus. Uttarakhand government decides to impose weekend lockdowns. Our top story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for UN reforms, stressing that the time is ripe to assess the United Nations' role and also its relevance in today's world, and also to shape a better future for it. Addressing a virtual keynote address at this year's high-level segment of the UN Economic and Social Council, the session of the United Nations, the Prime Minister said that a lot has changed since the formation of the UN after World War II, and expectations from the UN have grown. And he assured that with its deep commitment to maintaining global harmony and to preserving nature's balance, India will play its role in full support of the UN's agenda as a member of the UNSC.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered a virtual keynote address at this year's high-level segment of the United Nations Economic and Social Council session of the UN. The annual high-level segment convenes a diverse group of high-level representatives from the government, the private sector, civil society, and academia. The theme of this year's high-level segment is multilateralism after COVID-19. What kind of UN do we need at the 75th anniversary? Prime Minister called for long-awaited UN reforms, adding that multilateralism needs to represent realities of a contemporary world.
India firmly believes that the path to achieve sustainable peace and prosperity is through multilateralism. As children of planet Earth, we must join hands to address our common challenges and achieve our common goals. However, multilateralism needs to represent the reality of the contemporary world. Only reform multilateralism with a reform United Nations as its center can meet the aspirations of humanity.
Set against the changing international environment and the COVID-19 pandemic, PM said, as the furies of World War II eventually lead to the emergence of United Nations, the battle against COVID-19 provides an opportunity for reforms and rebirth of the world body.
While celebrating 75th years of the United Nations, let us pledge to reform the global multilateral system to enhance its relevance, to improve its effectiveness, and to make it the basis of a new type of human-centric globalization. The United Nations was originally born for the furies of the Second World War. Today, the fury of pandemic provides the context for its rebirth and reform. Let us not lose this chance.
Talking about India's association with the UN, PM reminded that from the very beginning, India has supported UN Development Works and ECOSOC. He also recalled India's role as the holder of the inaugural presidency of ECOSOC, adding that Sir Ramaswamy Mudaliar, an Indian, was its first president. Prime Minister also laid emphasis on the fight against COVID-19. He added that though it has tested resilience of all nations, in India it has been made into a people's movement, with government pledging $300 billion to revive the economy.
The COVID-19 pandemic has severely tested the resilience of all nations. In India, We have tried to make the fight against the pandemic a people's movement by combining the efforts of government and civil society. We have given the highest priority to reach benefits to poor households. We have announced a package of more than $300 billion. It will bring the economy back on track, build modern infrastructure, and put in place a technology-driven system. We have put forward a vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant and resilient India integrated with the global economy.
PM also mentioned India's unwavering commitment towards planet Earth, listing India's impressive achievements and efforts towards the same.
While marching forward on the path of development, we are not forgetting our responsibility towards our planet. Over the past few years, we have reduced 38 million tons of carbon emissions annually. This was achieved by electrifying our villages, providing clean cooking fuel to 80 million poor households, and introduction of energy efficient measures. We have set a target to install 450 gigawatt of renewable energy and restore 26 million hectares of degraded land by 2030.
Prime Minister Modi listed India's efforts to ensure 100% sanitation coverage, women's empowerment by ensuring gender parity, financial empowerment through various schemes, food security and housing for all by 2022. This was the first opportunity for Prime Minister Modi to address the broader UN membership since India's overwhelming election as a non-permanent member of the Security Council on June 17th for the term 2021-22. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Friday witnessed a military drill involving a fleet of attack helicopters, tanks, infantry combat vehicles and ground commandos at a high-altitude forward base in Ladakh. The Army and the Air Force displayed combat readiness in the region where India and China are engaged in a bitter standoff on the LAC. Here's more.
Bharat Mata Ki Jai! Bharat Mata Ki Jai! Bharat Mata Ki Jai! Bharat Mata Ki Jai!
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh spent time with jawans on his arrival in Ladakh on a day's tour amid the ongoing tension with China on the LAC in eastern Ladakh. Rajnath Singh addressed the Army and ITBP personnel at a forward post in Ladakh on the banks of the Pangong Tso Lake. He said, India does not want unrest but peace and will give a befitting reply to any attempts made to hurt India's self-respect.
भारत का एक सशक्त नेतृत्व है। तेरे नरेंद्र मोदी जैसा प्रधानमंत्री हमको मिला है फैसला लेने वाला। हम अशांति नहीं चाहते, हम शांति चाहते। हमारा चरित्र रहा है कि हमने दुनिया के किसी भी देश के स्वाभिमान पर चोट पहुंचाने की कभी कोशिश नहीं की। लेकिन यह भी मैं कह देना चाहता हूं दो टूक शब्दों में, यदि कोई दुनिया की ताकत हमारे स्वाभिमान पर चोट पहुंचाने की कोशिश करेगी तो उसे किसी भी सूरत में हम बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे, उसका हम मुंहतोड़ जवाब देने के लिए भी तैयार रहेंगे।
Rajnath Singh is on a two-day visit to Ladakh and Srinagar. He is accompanied by Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and Army Chief General M.M. Naravane. Rajnath Singh reached Leh on the first day of the journey. There, he visited the border areas and the Lukung outpost and met with jawans and officers of the Indian Army. Referring to the 15th June sacrifice made by Indian soldiers in the defence of the motherland in the Galwan Valley, the Defence Minister said that the nation will not let the sacrifice of the soldiers go in vain.
और मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि हिंदुस्तान उनकी शहादत को कभी भूलेगा नहीं। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने भी आकर दो टूक शब्दों ने कहा है कि उनकी वह शहादत, उनका वह बलिदान किसी भी सूरत में व्यर्थ नहीं जाएगा। मैं कह सकता हूं कि आप लोगों ने केवल भारत की सीमा की सुरक्षा नहीं की है, बल्कि भारत के 130 करोड़ भारतवासियों के सम्मान की आपने सुरक्षा की।
Defense Minister made it clear that India is not a weak country and no power on earth can take an inch of Indian land. Rajnath Singh said that talks are on to restore status quo ante in eastern Ladakh and hoped that they would reach fruition at the earliest, though he cautioned about the adversary's unpredictability.
इस समय सीमा के विवाद को सुलझाने के लिए बातचीत का दौर चल रहा है। जो कुछ अब तक की प्रगति हुई है बातचीत की, मामला हल होना चाहिए, लेकिन कहां तक हल होगा अभी इस संबंध में मैं कोई गारंटी नहीं दे सकता हूं, लेकिन मैं इतना यकीन दिलाना चाहता हूं कि भारत की 1 इंच जमीन को भी दुनिया की कोई ताकत छू नहीं सकती है, उस पर कब्जा नहीं कर सकती।
During his visit to Ladakh, the defense minister witnessed high-altitude military exercises involving commandos, tanks and helicopters of the Army and Air Force. A large number of commandos, tanks, BMP warfare vehicles, Apache, Rudra and Mi-17 V5 helicopters participated in the military exercises. The exercises involved paratroopers as well. After journeying for about 5 hours, Rajnath Singh reached Srinagar, where he took stock of the security situation and reviewed preparations for the Amarnath Yatra. With Ramesh Chandra from Leh and Salman Khazi from Srinagar, News Night Desk, DD India.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar let loose a barrage of retorts on social media, striking back at Rahul Gandhi for criticizing the central government's foreign policy. Dr. Jaishankar said, and I quote, Rahul Gandhi has questions on foreign policy. Here are some answers. Our major partnerships are stronger and international standing higher. Witness regular summits and informal meetings with the US, Russia, Europe and Japan. India engages China on more equal terms politically. Ask the analysts. He further said, we speak our mind more openly now on CPEC, on BRI, on South China Sea, on UN-sanctioned terrorists, etc. Ask the media. And address the border infrastructure imbalance legacy. Compare 2014 to 20 with 2008 to 14. Budget up by 280%. Road building by 32%. Bridges by 99% and tunnels by 6 times. Ask our Jawans. And some facts on our neighborhood. The Hambantota Port Agreement between Sri Lanka and China was concluded in 2008. Ask those who dealt with it. Afghanistan sees completed projects. Salma Dam, Parliament, expanded training and serious connectivity. Ask the Afghan street. Ask yourself. And Pakistan, that you skipped, surely notes the difference between Balakot and Uri on one hand and Sharm el-Sheikh, Havana and 2611 on the other. Ask yourself. Well, dissident Congress leader Sachin Pilot and 18 other Congress rebel MLAs have time till Tuesday before the Rajasthan Assembly Speaker C.P. Joshi can take any action on their disqualification. The Rajasthan High Court will hear the matter on Monday. However, the Speaker's counsel has assured the court that no order shall be passed on the notice till 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Here are the details.
Sachin Pilot and 18 other Congress dissident MLAs got a 4-day reprieve from any action by the Assembly Speaker on the disqualification notices served on them. This was after the Rajasthan High Court extended its hearing on the matter to next week. The division bench of the Rajasthan High Court, hearing the dissident MLA's petition against the Speaker's notices, adjourned on Friday evening. The next hearing has been fixed for 10 a.m. on Monday. The counsel for the Speaker has assured the High Court that no order will be passed on the notice till 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday. The Court of Chief Justice Indrajit Mahanti and Justice Prakash Gupta also asked Congress Chief Whip Mahesh Joshi to respond to the dissidents' petition by Saturday.
जो आज 5 बजे की सुनवाई है उसको ट्यूसडे को 5:30 बजे तक के लिए डेफर किया जाता है। मंगलवार 5:30 बजे पहले तक कोई कार्रवाई नहीं होगी।
The petition had challenged the notices based on a Congress complaint that the MLAs should be disqualified from the Rajasthan Assembly for defying a party whip. The pilot camp has argued that a party whip applies only when the assembly is in session. Congress had sought action against Sachin Pilot and other dissidents under paragraph 2, bracket 1A of the 10th schedule of the Constitution. The provision disqualifies MLAs if they voluntarily give up the membership of the party which they represent in the House. Congress claims that this is the inference that can be drawn from the MLA's conduct. But the pilot camp has said that Sachin Pilot never indicated any intention to leave the party. Meanwhile, Union Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat on Friday rejected the Congress's allegation based on some audio clips. He said that his voice is not in those recordings and that he was ready to face any probe.
टेप उनके पास कहां से आया? क्या सोशल मीडिया पे जारी किसी टेप की कोई ऑथेंटिसिटी है? गजेंद्र सिंह जी ने खुद ने कहा है इस ऑडियो टेप की दुनिया की कोई एजेंसी जांच कर ले वो तैयार हैं। इसका मतलब साफ है कि कांग्रेस पार्टी मुखिया और ये पूरी सरकार भारतीय जनता पार्टी की मानहानि करने के लिए इस तरीके के उपक्रम रचती है।
Sachin Pilot was sacked as Deputy Chief Minister of Rajasthan and the President of the state unit of the party after he rebelled against Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. With inputs from Jaipur Bureau, News 9 Desk, DD India.
Enthusiastic response has led the central government to extend the last date of submission of the entries for the Atmanirbhar App Innovation Challenge to the 26th of July. The challenge was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 4th of this month, and the previous last date for submission of entries was the 18th of July, Saturday. The challenge is hosted on the Innovate portal of MyGov, and to participate you can log in to innovate.mygov.in/app challenge. And the Electronics and IT Ministry has said that so far 2,353 entries have been received across 8 identified categories, including 1,496 from individuals and 857 from organizations and companies. Amongst those received from individuals, around 788 applications are ready to use, and the remaining 708 are under development. For the apps submitted by organizations, 636 apps have already been deployed, and the remaining 221 are under development. Around 100 of these apps have more than 100,000 downloads. The applicants are from all over the country, including remote and small towns, indicating a wide pool of untapped talent in app development. And on programming note, you can tune in to DD News at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday and DD India at 8 p.m. to watch our new show, India Ideas, where you can find out all about the Atmanirbhar Bharat App Innovation Challenge. Take a look.
When the government says that yes, we are supporting the startup, it's not just a statement of intent. Is that yes, we believe in the capability of the startups to build a VC challenge that can meet the requirements of Government of India. We are willing to sign a contract with them to offer the solution to us.
NASSCOM did a survey of the startup ecosystem a few months back. We continue to go back to our startups to see how they're doing, and I'm very happy that more than 50% of them have successfully pivoted.
The real value will be the leaderboards that will come up, and these leaderboards will give an indication to the people that these are apps which have been tried and tested by industry experts, and people can use them without any risk of loss of data.
The HRD Ministry has announced that the Indian Institute of Technology will do away with admission criteria of a minimum of 75% marks in Class 12 this year. The candidates clearing the JEE Advanced will be eligible for admission to IITs irrespective of Class 12 marks. The Union HRD Minister, Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, in a tweet has said that the eligibility criteria for JEE Advanced 2020 qualified candidates this time has been relaxed due to the partial cancellation of the Class 12 exams by several boards. Qualified candidates who have passed Class 12 examinations will now be eligible for admissions irrespective of marks obtained. Durga Shankar Mishra, the Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, launched the mobile application of the Prime Minister's Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi, or the PM Swanidhi, in New Delhi on Friday. And this app aims to provide user-friendly digital interface for lending institutions and their field functionaries for sourcing and processing loan applications of street vendors under the scheme. The launch event was held through a video conference in which, besides senior officials from the ministry, principal secretaries dealing with urban development, the department and other officials from the states and union territories participated. It's believed that the launch of the mobile app will give an impetus to the development, the implementation strategy of the scheme, and also besides promoting paperless digital accessing of microcredit facilities by street vendors.
Earlier we had only this portal. We only had the web portal for administering the complete PM Swanidhi. Now we have this mobile application, and that is going to make things much more simpler. Just with a mobile phone, a smartphone, anybody can be admitted for the PM Swanidhi scheme.
The flood and landslide situation remains grim in Assam and Bihar. Several rivers in both the states are in spate. Relief and rehabilitation work gathers momentum in the flood-affected districts of Assam and Bihar. Here's more.
Flood fury continues unabated in several parts of the country. Several districts in Assam are in the grip of floods. In Bihar, the flood situation remains grim as several rivers are in spate. Several areas of Assam are in the grip of floods. Nearly 35,75,000 persons in Assam are reeling under the fury of floods. 28 districts of the state are affected by floods. Dhubri is the most affected district with nearly 8,72,066 affected persons, followed by Barpeta, Gwalpara and Morigaon, where over 4 lakh persons are affected by floods. The low-lying areas of Chirang district have seen heavy rain and waterlogging, damaging several homes. Chief Minister Sarbananda Sonowal is himself monitoring the flood rescue and rehabilitation works in Assam.
We are running 303 relief camps and 445 relief distribution centers, and 49,000 people are residing in the relief camp presently. Hope that within 2-3 days, if situation remains same, then it will be stable.
Whereas the flood situation remains grim in several districts of Bihar. Gandak, Buri Gandak, Bagmati, Adwara, Kamla Balan, Kosi, Mahananda and Paraman are flowing above the danger mark. According to the Disaster Management Department, 8 districts of the state, Sitamarhi, Shivhar, Supol, Kishanganj, Darbhanga, Muzaffarpur, Gopalganj and East Champaran are reeling under the fury of the floods. Met Office has predicted light rain in the catchment area of all rivers in Bihar. With Kamal Bora in Assam and Salman Haider in Patna, News Night Desk, DD India.
The test, track and treat strategy of the centre is being implemented by the states and union territory governments and is proving to be an appropriate strategy to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. India has seen a steady increase in the number of patients recovering from COVID. While this has resulted in 63.33% of the total positive cases recovering, intensive contact tracing is being implemented and is aimed at restricting the spread.
Due to the test, track and treat strategy of the center, the number of patients recovering from COVID-19 infection is increasing continuously. As per the government data, the actual caseload of COVID-19 patients is only 3,42,756. More than 63.33% of the total cases have recovered. India has 727.4 cases per million. On the global scale, cases per million population in India are 4 to 8 times less than some European countries. The case fatality rate at 18.6 deaths per million is one of the lowest in the world. It is also noteworthy that in India, less than 1.94% of the cases are in ICUs, 0.35% of cases are on ventilators, and 2.81% of cases are on oxygen beds. Medical infrastructure is being continuously augmented across the country. As a result of concerted efforts, the COVID-19 hospital infrastructure is much stronger. India now has 1,383 dedicated COVID hospital, 3,107 dedicated COVID healthcare centers, and 10,382 COVID care centers. State governments have also been playing a crucial role in the fight against COVID-19. They are strictly following the directions of the center, strengthening their health infrastructure and continuously increasing their testing capacity. In Arunachal Pradesh, 10 response teams have been formed to accelerate the process of testing. Capital Itanagar is under lockdown till 20th of July. In Odisha, the government has announced to enforce complete lockdown for 14 days in some parts. The most affected districts like Ganjam, Khordha, Cuttack, Jajpur and Rourkela would remain under complete lockdown till midnight of 31st July. During this period, all the shops, offices and institutions would remain closed. Medical stores, vegetable shops, departmental stores and milk shops would open between 6 am and 1 pm. Meanwhile, complete lockdown for 3 days has